Carolina Panthers running back Jonathon Brooks has been placed on injured reserve by the team, thus ending his season after suffering a ACL injury to the same right knee that he just recovered from and returned from. He only been back for about 3 games, and he was really starting to ramp up. Looked very, very explosive in the previous week in his second game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And when he was making a cut to bounce a run to the outside in his first carry of the game versus the Eagles, he planted, and that non-contact injury occurred, and it's been revealed after testing that he re-injured that same right knee. Just a devastating blow for a promising young player. The Carolina Panthers chose him with the second-round pick. And what they had in mind is the guy that showed great contact balance, the ability to break tackles, the ability to make something out of nothing when receiving the ball out of the backfield. Is going to be a safety blanket for Bryce Young, a change of pace for their lead back, Chuba Hubbard, and just somebody that can bring a different element to the team. I made a film breakdown last week showing that type of element, and I'm just sick to my stomach thinking about the fact that this guy only got to see a little bit glimpse of him before he was injured again. And the thing about it is the Carolina Panthers took things very, very slow with Jonathon Brooks on his recovery process. Reports came out initially, I guess around draft time, that he would be cleared for running and I guess for full practice in July of this year, but things are really brought it on slow. He was on the NFI list, where the non-football injury list, where you're there when you suffer an injury outside of the landscape of being in the NFL because of that ACL injury he suffered in November 2023. But as they brought him along slow, they thought about bringing him back for that Germany game later on in the year, but with the wet conditions and the grass soccer field, they didn't want to do it. And they ended up bringing him back. He showed what he could do, but he went down again. And I'm just devastated personally, because I was really rooting for this kid as somebody myself that had an ACL injury. The injury and the pain from the injury doesn't last that long. It eventually goes away. Obviously, you can take your ibuprofen, the painkillers they give you after the surgery, but the rehab process that goes into that is just a beast. The mental toll that it takes on you, that it feels like your body is letting you down, your body is failing you, and it's just unfortunate. I know the climb back, it takes we've seen some people come back as quick as 6 months. You know, Adrian Peterson came back 8 months after his knee surgery, ran for 2,000 yards and got an MVP. So people have recovered from these type of injuries, and that's what we expected to happen from Jonathon Brooks when they drafted him, because some people were critical of them drafting a injured player, but that's just not how ACLs work. It's not like concussions where once you get one, you're more susceptible to others. No, a lot of times when you repair that ACL joint and the ligament, it can be stronger than before because all the dedicated single leg isolation movement that you do to strengthen the muscles and things around it, and the ability to re-injure is just something that's not that common. So it just lets you know how unfortunate it was for Jonathon Brooks. But hey, real quick, if you're still watching right now and you're new to the channel, my name is Aaron Duncan. Please hit that subscribe button down below. I do news and updates on the Carolina Panthers just like this, film breakdowns as well. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and please take 2 seconds. Just stop what you're doing right now. Take 2 seconds, give that video a thumbs up. It may seem like a small gesture, but it really helps my videos out in the algorithm. Just a token of appreciation with a thumbs up goes a long way. Let's get back to the video. But what does this mean for his future with the team? Because happening this late in the season, it probably puts his 2025 season in jeopardy. If we project that his recovery time is the same, he got injured a little bit about this time last year, and it took almost a full calendar year for him to get back. If that's the pace he's going to be on, it looks like that next year is going to be in jeopardy. If not, there'll be a couple games left at the back end. It really doesn't seem like a point in bringing him back there for that standpoint, because what will be left there unless the Panthers are competing for a championship or something like that? I don't know. And what will he look like after 2 ACL injuries? Who knows? This guy is very, very young. And like I said, I referenced Adrian Peterson. The recovery time for these injuries are on a case-by-case basis. But with modern medicine coming so far, there's optimism that he can recover from this. I know Panthers fans will know that famously Thomas Davis tore his ACL 3 times, was still a very, very good player and one of the best players in franchise history, and still a staple of the organization to this day as he works with the team and just does film breakdown and stuff, and just an epitome of keep pounding. But Jonathon Brooks, man, I really, really feel for him, man. Hopefully he has a good support system around him to really keep his spirits up and attacks his rehab. And I know it's going to feel bad because you're looking at 2026 before the next time you can see the field. And so that is just unfortunate for a guy who, like I said, he's going to be a rookie this year, but even though he's 21, he won't be 23. He'll be 23 years old by the time he sees some more action. But for the Panthers team as a whole, what does this mean? Because they suffered an injury to Raheem Blackshear during the game as well. For all intents and purposes, according to Dave Canales, he should be able to return. But with them just inking a deal for Chuba Hubbard for an extension, that looks like a good deal in mind. I know a lot of people were skeptical because they said, hey, why would you draft Jonathon Brooks when you had Chuba Hubbard? To me, that playing a little bit of the hindsight game, because the hindsight is 2020. I don't think anybody saw Chuba Hubbard having career highs in every category, being top 5, top 6 in terms of the rushing total for the league, in terms of running back yardage, as he just crossed 1,000 yards for the first time in the career, really making himself that RB1 and getting a deal in season, the rare in-season deal that the Panthers really rarely do, So nobody really saw that coming. And regardless of that, even if they did, drafting a guy like Jonathon Brooks, who has a complementary skill set and is probably more explosive when he was healthy, it made more sense to me at the time. And now that they inked that deal, it looks like they feel a little bit better because they do have a lead back still in Chuba Hubbard. But also, I think people are forgetting that Miles Sanders is still around. Yes, he hurt his ankle and his foot. He was on IR. It seemed like with the draft of Jonathon Brooks, the writing might have been on the wall for Miles Sanders because he's been paid handsomely. He had the richest running back free agent contract last year when he was brought in to be coached under Deuce Staley and Frank Wright to be that RB1, but he hasn't really lived up to their deal. Now, he could end up being a casualty, as the Panthers can save around $4 million in cap space if they cut him, but at the same time, if they wanted to keep a running back tandem with him and Chuba until Jonathon Brooks is back for 2026, Miles Sanders still has one more year left on his deal, so that's also in their back pocket. Maybe Miles will restructure, maybe he'll take a pay cut. I highly advise against players doing that because this is a unforgiving game, as we can see with Jonathon Brooks. I like players to get as much money as they can and don't give anything back to these organizations because they'll let you go at the drop of a hat if you're not producing or if you get hurt. But that is also an option for Miles depending on how bad he wants to stick around, but he probably will be open for a fresh start if they elect to move on. But also, like I said, the contract is still there for another year. That's still in the back pocket. They could also go to the streets. There are a ton of running backs that you could get for RB2 that could be solid and developmental if they wanted to kind of just have as a change of pace for Chuba, just to kind of give him a breather when need be. Or they could go to the draft next year. This seems to be a legendary loaded draft coming up. They don't have to spend premium capital again like they did on Jonathon Brooks, but the Carolina Panthers currently have 9 draft picks. They could probably take a later round running back and probably get some decent RB2 production from him if they like, because we're talking about 10 to 12 running backs I think could easily be drafted in the first couple of days of this draft. That's just how loaded this class is with impact players. So they could also do that as well, but I think they need so much help on defense. It may be better suited for them to just go ahead and use those on building up the roster and the depth there and try to find a free agent at running back. But nevertheless, Jonathon Brooks, man, I'm going to keep him in my thoughts, man, because like I said, I know from personal experience, I'm not a world-class athlete. I didn't make it to the NFL, but I do know the mental toll that it takes going through this process of rehab. And I personally told myself if I was to tear my ACL again when I was playing back in the day, then I would be done, just because the rehab was just that gruesome and that grueling. If you've been through that process, you can know. Let me know down below in the comments, just to let people know that it's no joke and it's not just something that's a walk in the park. But I want to get you guys' thoughts overall about the situation. Let me know down below in the comments. What do you think the Panthers should do with the running back position? Do you think they should stick with Miles and run it back for another year, even though he's probably a little bit overpaid right now for what his production that he's made? Or do you think they should move on, go to the draft and try to find somebody? And what do you expect for the future of Jonathon Brooks? Do you think that he'll be able to recover and be back for us and be able to contribute in some form of capacity in 2026? I need all your thoughts down below in the comments, but let me know how you feel. I really appreciate you guys watching. My name is Aaron Duncan here with the Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. I'll see you next time.